Well, the Olympics opening ceremonies were not without controversy this past weekend. The event featured the now obligatory drag queens and a blasphemous rendition of The Last Supper. Here to discuss is Jason Whitlock, BlazeTV host of Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Jason, what do you think the Olympic Committee was trying to say with this opening ceremony?
Do I have a moment to crack a little joke before we get into the discussion, or is this show too serious for that?
Hit me, baby.
I only came on this show because they promised me Jill Savage would be the host of the show. You think I want to interact with you two bozos when I could be talking to Jill Savage?
Hey, man, this is what you got. You got to deal with it.
It was a trick. It was a trick.
Bait and switch. Not surprised with Matt Peterson involved. Not surprised. Hey, but on a serious note, look, the Alphabet Mafia, you know, the BLM, LGBTQIA+, ADL, NAACP, they are in control of global culture, American culture, and they are hostile towards a Christian worldview. And so to me, I looked at that opening ceremony as mission accomplished. They were waving a flag that we are hostile to a Christian worldview, Christian culture. We are on the largest stage the world has to offer. We're going to mock Christian values and Jesus Christ. And so to me, it was just, hey, this is the biggest stage the planet has to offer. And we want to tell you what's in vogue and what's out of vogue. And Christian culture is not in style. It's been run into the closet. And the Alphabet crew is in charge.
Well, there's no denying that there was worldwide backlash against all this stuff, including, bizarrely, the government of Iran actually calling the French to the carpet for doing this. I mean, how bad does it have to get? And what did you make of that backlash? Do you think it was enough? Do you think it's going to change anything?
No, I'm not sure it's going to change anything at all. For America, I saw a handful of maybe American companies saying they were uncomfortable advertising. I think I saw something called C-Spire pull its advertising away. But unless there are some significant, real economic repercussions for this type of behavior, it's not going to stop. And so I think they knew it would be controversial. They knew it would drive a backlash. I think that's what they wanted. They wanted to draw attention to what they were doing. And so I think they're quite satisfied, and they factored in that there would be backlash, and they were willing to deal with it.
Well, they did, and deal with it they did in the form of lying. It's a matter of record that this was, in fact, about the Last Supper, but the artistic director of the opening ceremony, I'm just reading here, Thomas Jolly, one can imagine what his real name is. Maybe that's his real name. He said he was unaware of the criticism, wanted to display inclusion. The quote is, our subject was not to be subversive. We never wanted to be subversive. We wanted to talk about diversity. Diversity means being together. We wanted to include everyone, as simple as that. Do you think this messaging is actually going to take hold, or do you think that the mask is really finally starting to slip here?
The mask is all the way off, because what's unaddressed, let's say it was all a mistake. There was a man standing close to a child whose balls were hanging out. And so if you can't unequivocally run away from that and apologize and back away from that, if it's just, hey, no, we were actually doing something else and we didn't intend this and we wanted to be inclusive, give me a break. They wanted to trigger, they wanted to provoke, they wanted controversy. They got what they wanted. And, Thomas Jolly's come out with, some pandering excuses or whatever, or half-hearted excuses, but they got what they wanted.
Matthew J. Peterson, balls over the line.
Yeah, I would say over the line, hanging out. I mean, just sitting there on the Twitter account for the Olympics. But here's the thing: that stuff doesn't surprise me. I don't think it surprises any of us. We know that this is sort of the spirit of the age, and it doesn't surprise me at all. I guess what does surprise me, and riddle me this, Jason, is the backlash is actually substantial. I feel like this penetrated into the normie mind, like regular people, millions of people saw this, And I was actually heartened by, not shocked at all by the ceremony, but heartened by the response. It felt like, it feels as if a lot of people were actually very upset and they were making their minds known. But maybe I'm reading too much into this. I don't know. What's your take?
No, I think people are legitimately upset, and I think that the scales have come off people's eyes. A lot of the things that we've been arguing for years, like, hey, we're in a battle of good versus evil. This is spiritual warfare. I think the assassination attempt on Donald Trump has made people say, whoa, if I don't get involved, if I don't make my voice heard, if I don't stand in the public square and say enough is enough, where does it end? It's never going to end. And so, listen, Donald Trump and his objection to the fake news media is one of the most transformational things we've ever seen, I think, from a political figure calling this out. And so I think the public, particularly the American public, knows it's being lied to. I think many in the American public, even non-believers, I look at someone like Bill Maher and watch how he's trying to shift and pivot and move, is starting to understand, like, hey, Christian culture is superior to secular culture. I had more freedom in a Christian culture, in a forgiving, biblical values-based culture than I have in secular culture. I think people are the scales. They don't want to admit it, but Donald Trump has taken the scales off our eyes, and things that we had been in denial about, things, oh, well, that's just a conspiracy theory. I don't want to sound crazy. I don't want to think this. I don't want to think that. I think people have come to grips with, like, hey, man, there's a sex cult that has an enormous amount of cultural influence across the globe, and many of us are starting to get the courage to stand in the public square and say enough is enough.
Yeah, you're right, Jason. It's not just Christians. There are plenty of people who still remember when the Olympics celebrated the high ideals of ancient Greece, ancient Rome. The beautiful people, very strong, doing things that show the potential of the human race in its physical form. What we saw on that opening ceremony was not just blasphemy to the Last Supper. It was also a denigration. Really a perversion of that ancient culture. I mean, you had Dionysos out there looking like Pedo Smurf. What do you think is coming next? How much of this should we expect coming next?
Well, let me broaden this conversation a tiny bit in terms of just as a sports person and just how the entire sports world has been corrupted, and people don't even understand who organized sports. You can't separate Christian values from organized sports. The YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association, organized sports globally. The YMCA was founded in 1844. They organized sports. The modern Olympics started in 1896. There would be no Olympics without a Christian influence. And so what they've done and how they've transformed sports and the ideas that used to be at the foundation of sports. Sports were used as a tool to bring us together across racial differences. Look at how they're using sports now to promote racial differences, to promote and stir racial hostility. We took Snoop Dogg here in America and made him, he's a torch carrier at the Paris Olympics. Snoop Dogg is a gang member. During his torch carrying ceremony, he wore a Baphomet gold chain or emblem around his neck. The guy's an out of the closet devil worshiper. His music is pornographic. He's a pimp. Somehow he's carrying the torch at the Olympics. He's not an athlete. He's a Lakers fan. This doesn't make sense. The people that we're bringing into sports and the values that we're bringing into sports. Sports were organized by Christians. LeBron James. How is he our flag bearer? The guy's been kneeling during the national anthem, objecting, calling America systemically racist. Somehow he's the guy to be carrying our flag. What they've done to sports and just disconnected it from its Christian origins is amazing, and it needs to be understood, and people need to understand just how important sports are to the maintainment of Christian values. The reason why they organized sports and the YMCA got involved is because they understood that sports were a great tool to promote Christian values. We're seeing all of that stripped away and sports becoming very, very, not just secular, but just hostile to Christianity and Jesus Christ.